Hi guys, it's Miss Long. This is our novel Because of Mr. Terupt. You should have listened to the first chapter, which is September, already, and made some notes in your journal. And today you're going to listen to the second chapter, October. Remember, our chapters have within it a section told by each of our main characters, sort of like in the book Wonder. Alright, Peter. I never ever had something in school excite me before, but the plant unit we did with Mr. T had me fired up. We grew these bean plants from seeds, and once they got big enough, we started doing different tests with them. Variables, Mr. T called them. First, we stuffed the plants in boxes with just a tiny hole in the side, and we waited to see what the plants would do after a few days of the dark. Anna had a meltdown about it. I don't want to put mine in a box, she cried. Mr. T had to take her out in the hall to calm her down. I was kind of shocked. Usually she doesn't say anything. What a weirdo, I thought. It's no wonder she doesn't have any friends. It's a good thing Danielle was her partner. She's the patient kind. Anyone else would have been fuming. My partner was Lexi, which was fine. She let me do whatever I wanted. Next, we put the plants on their side to see how they would grow. I couldn't believe it. The plants bent and still grew up towards the ceiling. That was pretty cool. But the best part was what we got to do in the end. Mr. T let us feed our plant any concoction we wanted to over the course of a week. There was just one rule. We couldn't use any ingredient that would spoil and stink up the classroom like milk, or something that wasn't good for us to breathe, like gas. There were some pretty wild concoctions. David and Nick used salad dressing because according to them, plants make salad, so the plant will like salad dressing. Brenda and Heather used orange juice mixed with ketchup and Pepto-Bismol. I don't know what they were thinking. Mine was the best though. I brought in cat litter, used, soda, and a little maple syrup. I did my best to mix it together and feed it to my plant. Lexi wasn't real happy about my choice of ingredients. I didn't tell her I had peed in my soda bottle some too. Peter, you moron. This stuff is gonna kill our plant, she whined. Shut up. You never cared about the plant before, I said. Well, I care now, she said. Lexi, maple syrup comes from trees. I drink soda a lot, and I'm growing, and farmers put animal manure on their fields all the time. So zip it. It's going to work. Our plant was dead in 2 days. Danielle and Anna did the best. Danielle used some natural ingredients her grandmother had taught her about. Something the old-time farmers really did use, I guess. Danielle lives on a farm, so she had a big advantage. Her concoction worked, big time. She and Anna were the only ones to come up with food that the plant liked. Anna was all smiles until Lexi said, like, you're just lucky Danielle was your partner. She did everything. Then Lexi turned to me and added, even if she is fat. I don't think anybody else heard, but I laughed. I know I probably shouldn't have. Anna's smile disappeared, and she stared at the floor. Poor old Luke sure tried. I think he put too much brain power in it, and he's got a lot of brain power. He's been the smartest kid in school since kindergarten. His partner was Jeffrey, but he never does anything. He just let Luke take charge. Maybe he should have helped. I've brought in a number of different ingredients, Luke said, and they'll interact perfectly because of the electron balance and resulting bond formations. He even said something about a periodic table or some crazy thing. Well, you're never going to believe this, but Luke mixed his junk together and it started smoking. The next thing we knew, the stupid fire alarm was going off. The whole school had to go outside, and even the fire department showed up. It was great. Mr. T had to do some explaining, and after a while, we were let back inside. But Luke wasn't performing any more experiments for us. Man, things were just so much fun with Mr. T. Luke. We moved from cool math right into wicked science. The only thing I didn't like about our science unit was that we had to have partners. I prefer to do my projects alone, but Mr. Terupt teamed us up. We were working with plants, and he said we didn't have enough space for everyone to have their own. Jeffrey was my partner, which, believe it or not, worked out great because he let me do whatever I wanted. He didn't care. The only part was that he was always grumpy, $. We studied phototropisms by observing how our plant grew towards light after we stuffed it into a box that had only a tiny hole on its side. Then we studied geotropism by observing how our plant grew towards the ceiling even after we tipped the plant on its side for a few days. And then we were given the opportunity to study a variable on our own. Mr. Terupt told us to manipulate the plant's nourishment. Feed it whatever you want, he said. Make your own concoctions. Jeffrey left me alone. He hated school and everything about it. That day I hurried home and studied my periodic table. I had received a special chemistry set last Christmas. Hydrogen and oxygen made a special bond when they came together to form water. So I figured I should try to recreate that special bond in whatever molecular ingredients I chose. I looked through the chemicals in my set and picked the ones that would result in the same type of electron balance that occurred in the hydrogen and oxygen bond. I took my ingredients to school and got ready to measure and mix. Jeffrey was slightly interested at this point. Mr. Terupt, on the other hand, appeared a little uneasy about the whole thing, but he never stopped me. Luke, sometimes when you mix chemicals, it can cause a reaction, which then explodes. I know, I said. Maybe we shouldn't mix these in the classroom without knowing what's going to happen, he said. It might not be safe. All these potions came from my chemistry set at home. My mom saw it. It's safe, I said, trying my best to convince Mr. Terupt. I didn't tell Mom or Mr. Terupt about the few ingredients I got from Dad's garage. I knew it would work. Hey guys, come and look at all the stuff Luke's mixing together, Chris yelled. I felt everyone gather behind me as I began mixing my substances together in a bowl. But before I could feed my plant, something happened. First, the bowl started feeling warmer, then hot. The potion turned dark green, then gray. It started bubbling, first slowly, then rapidly. I knew this was bad. Back up, everybody back up. Get away from it, Mr. Terupt ordered. Smoke started billowing from my concoction. Then the screech of the fire alarm pounded against my ears. The only other thing I heard was Peter laughing. This is awesome, he yelled. Way to go, Lukester. Outside, everybody outside, Mr. Terupt ordered. I was done for, I was sure of it. Wrong again. Mr. Terupt spoke to Miss Williams and took the blame for everything. He even stood up to the fire marshal, who always walks through the building after an unannounced fire alarm. The marshal wanted our $word posters taken off the hallway walls. He claimed they were a fire hazard. Jeffrey thought this confrontation was a big deal. Did you see Terupt say no to that guy, he said. He refused to take our posters down. I saw, I said, and I saw flashbacks of smoke pouring out of the bowl. I knew I wasn't ever going to be a botanist, $word. At least Jeffrey had gotten excited about something. I wish Mr. Terupt hadn't trusted us so much. Maybe it was because he was a first-year teacher and didn't know better. But I don't think that was it. I think it was a case of Mr. Terupt being a special teacher. Jeffrey. Luke was trying to feed our plant. I saw the smoke rising. I knew what was going to happen. Terupt did too, because I saw him go over to the window right away. Not fast enough, though. The alarm still went off. The whole school had to go outside because of Luke. When we came back in, some guy was walking down the hall with our janitors, Mr. Loomis and Mr. Reddy. Terupt sent us into the classroom, but he stayed in the hall. I hid by the door to listen. All of it, the man yelled. I want all of it off the walls. He was pointing to our math posters. Mr. Loomis looked at Terupt. You heard him, he said. I'm not taking them down, Terupt said. Do you know who this is? Mr. Reddy said. This is the fire marshal. Terupt said, I don't care who it is. I'm not taking them down. He looked at the fire marshal and said, you have no idea how hard my kids worked on these. He was pointing at our posters. He was pointing at my poster. It had one word on it, stupid, and it wasn't even a $word. All of a sudden, I felt bad because I hadn't even tried on Terupt's project. There were some more words said, but then the fire marshal left. The posters stayed. I hope he felt stupid. Terupt came back into the room. Peter was out of his seat. Mr. T, you just told that guy off, Peter said, dancing around. That was awesome. No, I didn't, Terupt said. Get in your seat. You shouldn't have seen that. But I saw it, and I heard it. Terupt stuck up for us. There's always posters up in school halls, and they're never fire hazards. I think the fire marshal was just mad about our false alarm, and I think Terupt knew that too. He wasn't going to get pushed around. Our hard work mattered to Terupt. Even mine. I owed him now. I had to try, even if only a little bit. Anna. I didn't want my plant to die. I didn't want to put it in the box. Everybody was staring at me. I started crying. Mr. Terupt took me out into the hall. Anna, what's wrong? I don't want to kill my plant, I blurted out. My back slid down the wall and I put my head in my hands. We're not going to kill your plant, Mr. Terupt knelt down in front of me. Yes, you are, I said. If we put it in a box, it's going to kill it. We'll take it out before it dies, he promised. No, I don't want it to hurt. Tell you what, Anna, let's do the experiments that are lined up for your plant. We have to, because Danielle is your partner and she needs to do the science too. Then when we're done, I'll let you take my plant, our control, the one that we don't do anything to. I still didn't like the idea of hurting my plant, but I liked the idea of getting the control. I think he saw my hesitation. Plus, since you're working with Danielle, I have a feeling that your plant is actually going to be just fine. I don't know Danielle that well, but she's never been in my class before. She seems nice. I like her. Sometimes she's friends with Alexia. I don't know why. I'm glad I'm partners with Danielle and not Alexia. I've never been in Alexia's class, but I can tell that she's mean. All the girls listen to her, though. Katie, Emily, Heather, Natalie, all of them. Not me. I stay far away from her. My mom has warned me not to get involved in that popularity stuff. She was ostracized once. That means nobody wanted to be friends with her. My mom told me it was like there was a big group of people holding hands in a circle, and she was never let in. She always had to stand outside the circle. Mom doesn't ever want that to happen to me. It was when she was 16 and pregnant with me. I can tell that she still hurts inside from all of it. Even her own parents shunned her. That's why she quit school shortly after I was born and moved out. She tried to move in with my dad. I've never met him, but that didn't work out. He left. Mom says we can talk about my dad and the whole situation when I'm older. All I know is that she always says he's a nice man. My grandma and grandpa, I've never met them either, still don't want anything to do with us. They moved far away after my mom moved out. My mom might be young, but she's still a great mom. She's my best friend, and I love her. If you love someone, you don't quit on them just because they make a mistake. Mr. Terupt helped me stand up. Trust me on this one, he said. Be positive. We headed back into the classroom. My plant went into the box and came out a few days later. A little yellow and without a lot of new growth, but it was alive. Turning it on its side wasn't harmful, so I was okay with the test. And then it was our chance to feed it whatever we wanted. Mr. Terupt was right. Danielle knew what she was doing. Here's a list of things we can mix together, Danielle said. I read the list. I didn't know everything on it. How did she? My grandmother helped me out with it, she said. She's always been good at growing things. She's the reason we have successful crops on the farm. Both of us brought in some of the ingredients. We mixed them together and fed our plant. Ours was the only one to survive. It turned really green and grew and grew and grew. I took the control home, but Danielle and I decided to leave our plant at school. We kept feeding it and everyone watched it grow. It grew almost to the ceiling, wrapping itself around the cord to the blinds all the way up. Then one day it got knocked over. Somehow our super duper plant fell off the windowsill. Nobody knows how it happened. I have a pretty good idea though. I bet Alexia did it, because it happened when she was being nasty to Danielle. I'm thankful that Mr. Terupt let me take the control home. I didn't want her to hurt that one too. I liked being Danielle's partner. I wonder now if Mr. Terupt knew what he was doing between me and Danielle. I wonder. Jessica. Act 2, Scene 1. My daily routine included lunch with Alexia and the girls, minus Danielle and Anna. They sat alone. And then recess. Alexia found it funny to see how upset Danielle would get. Right about this same time, I was finishing the book Belle Teal. I loved Belle. I wanted her to be my friend. She was honest and courageous. What would Belle do in my shoes? That was easy. She would do the right thing, and doing the right thing meant giving someone a chance. Danielle didn't seem anything like Alexia made her out to be. I decided it was time to talk to Danielle and find out for myself. Act 2, Scene 2. I set out to find Danielle the next day at recess. I spotted her from a distance. She was drawing in the dirt with a stick. "Hi, Danielle," I said as I approached, clutching my latest book, Where the Red Fern Grows, close to me. "What do you want?" she shot back, jabbing her stick too hard into the ground, causing it to snap in half. She turned away. It sounded like she was crying. "Are you okay?" I walked closer. "No, Lexi's being really mean to me, and it's all your fault." She threw her sticks onto the ground. My fault? She blamed me? Why didn't I see it coming? It made perfect sense. I was the new girl, and my arrival pushed her out of the group. "I'm sorry," I said. I stood there. I wanted to be back in California anyway. I missed my dad. Danielle began scratching pictures in the dirt with her finger. "I'm sorry," I said that. "It's not your fault." I sat down. "It's just that Lexi's ignoring me, talking about me, saying mean stuff," Danielle went on. "She doesn't sit with me at lunch. She's not playing with me, and now all the other girls are doing the same thing. They always do what Alexia says. Anna's the only one who's still nice, and I'm not supposed to be friends with her." "Why not?" I asked. "My family, especially my grandma, thinks she's a bad influence." "I don't get it." "My mom and dad used to be friends with her grandparents." "And you mean her parents?" I interrupted. "No, her grandparents." Danielle stopped moving the dirt and sat up to explain. "My mom and dad are 47. They had my older brother Charlie when they were 20, the same time Anna's grandparents had Anna's mother. They were all friends at church. That's how they knew each other. Charlie is 27, so Anna's mom must be 27 too. And Anna's 11, I said quickly, putting all the pieces together. So that means her mom was 16 when Anna was born." "That's right," Danielle said. "And that's why your family, especially your grandmother, thinks Anna will be a bad influence?" I asked. "Yes," Danielle said. "I think they figure Anna will be like her mother, and that's not the type of people churchgoers should associate with." I didn't like what I was hearing. None of it seemed fair to Anna, but I wanted to learn more about her mother's story. "What happened after Anna was born?" "I'm not sure," Danielle said. "I just know that it's only Anna and her mother now." "None of that's her fault," I said matter-of-factly. Danielle nodded. She bent forward and started drawing in the dirt again. I decided not to push it anymore. She seemed upset by it too. "I'll play with you," I said. "You will?" The hint of a smile spread its way across Danielle's dirt-streaked, teary face. "Sure, and I won't listen to Alexia." I slid Where the Red Fern Grows off to the side and dug into the earth with my finger. "I know that book. My grandma read it to me." "It's very good," I said. "Everybody always likes a character with a dog. That's something my dad told me." "It's a sad story," Danielle said, "but I won't tell you what happens." "Please don't. We can talk about it when I get done, though." "Sure," she said, shrugging her shoulders. We sat next to each other, scratching pictures in the dirt until the whistle sounded. Recess was over. We stood and brushed ourselves off. That was when I saw Danielle's dirt sketch of 2 dogs. "That's a great picture, Danielle." "Thanks," she said. I liked Danielle. There were a lot of interesting things to learn about her, I could tell. I grabbed my book and we headed towards the building. Then I saw Anna wandering over by herself. I wonder if she wanted to be a loner, or did she want friends? Why did she try so hard to be invisible? Was she embarrassed by her family situation? And how many people actually knew all that stuff about her mother? Act 2, Scene 3. I was walking with Danielle when all of a sudden she rushed ahead and hurried inside. Looking up, I found out why. Alexia got right in my face. "Like, what are you doing?" "I thought I told you not to be friends with her." Alexia's head jerked from side to side as she talked. It reminded me of a bobblehead. She blocked my way, her hands on her cheetah-patterned hips. "There's nothing wrong with Danielle. Besides, I can play with whomever I want," I said. "Fine, then like you're not my friend anymore," Alexia said. She knocked Where the Red Fern Grows out of my hands, then she whipped around and stomped inside. I wasn't upset, but I'm not stupid either. I knew Alexia was going to make my life miserable. That was her game, and she was good at it too. Still, I had no clue how bad things would really get. Alexia. I saw Jessica talking to Danielle. I saw them playing. That double-crossing no-good Miss Perfect from California. She was going to get it. I went right up to her after recess and smacked her stupid book out of her hands. Who did she think she was, messing things up? I couldn't let her stand up to me and get away with it. Then somebody else might think they could do that too. Sorry, I was gonna sneeze. I wasn't about to let that happen. Nobody messes with Alexia. Then I had to deal with Danielle. I caught up to her inside and followed her into the bathroom. I was like, "What are you doing?" She backed into the stall. "Nothing, what's wrong?" I was like, "You're crazy to be friends with that new girl. I told you she's been saying nasty stuff about you. How you smell like the farm. And just now she said, 'Who's bigger, Danielle or the cows?'" Now Danielle was crying. "Score." I hugged her. I was like, "We've been friends a long time, Danielle. Since second grade. We don't need her." She was still crying. I hugged her again. I was thinking, this will teach you to mess with me, Miss Perfect. I let go of Danielle and walked over and stood in front of the mirror. I fixed the scrunchie in my hair and readjusted my scarf. I reapplied some princess pink lip gloss. I was like, "Don't you worry, Danielle. We'll get her." Danielle. I ended up talking and playing with Jessica at recess. My troubles with Lexi weren't her fault. I told Jessica about Anna. Jessica thought Anna seemed nice, which was true. Anna was my science partner for the plant unit, and I liked working with her. "You stay away from that girl, you hear me?" Grandma said when I first mentioned Anna at home. "Your grandmother's right, Danielle. That girl comes from a bad family," Mom said. "She'll be a bad influence." I wanted to know why, so Grandma filled me in on Anna's family story. I just listened, but I couldn't help thinking about the Anna that I knew. She didn't seem bad at all. In fact, I already liked her. I wanted her to be my friend. I figured that as long as I wasn't going over to her house, I could still be friends with Anna in school. Before long, it was time to head inside. I walked alongside Jessica until I saw Lexi marching towards us. She had a mean scowl on her face. She looked mad, real mad, like a mama cow determined to keep you away from her new calf. I rushed ahead. I didn't want to fight. I felt bad for leaving Jessica behind, but I wanted to avoid Lexi. I hurried inside and hid in the bathroom, but Lexi found me. The bathroom door flew open, and she got right in my face. She told me all the mean things Jessica was saying about me. Like, you can even ask Katie or Emily. They'll tell you. Little Miss California is a two-face. Nice to your face and mean behind it. You need to stay away from her. I started crying. Why would Jessica say those mean things? Lexi hugged me for a second, but it didn't make me feel any better. Then she walked towards the sink. She stood in front of the mirror, fixing herself. I sat in one of the stalls, wiping my tears. Like, you know what else? Lexi said. Jessica's the one who killed your plant. Like, she knocked it over on purpose, she told me. I've known Lexi since second grade, when she was all nice. She even came over to my house once that spring, but her feather boas weren't a good match for my farm, so she hasn't ever been back. And then in third grade, she started with her mean games, so I've never been to her house. We're friends in school when Lexi says so, and that's it. Grandma says something's going on with Lexi that we don't know about, and that it's best not to worry about being her friend. But I did worry. What was the truth? Was there anyone I could be friends with? Dear God, it's Danielle. I'm going to need your help sorting all this girl stuff out. I hope you don't mind. I'd rather not get Grandma involved. She doesn't always understand. Thanks. Amen. And that's it. Make sure that you're keeping some notes in your journal about what you've read about each character so far. You should have some interesting things to write down about Alexia and Jessica and Danielle, at least, from this chapter. Bye.